Hello again, everyone. In this lesson, we are going to create our first table in SQL Server, and in the process, deal with data types. We will expand on this table, adding more features to it, and we'll create additional tables in future videos. To get started, let's bring up our SQL Server Management Studio. Let me expand this a little bit. The first thing that I'm going to do is I want to go into the system databases, into the model database. And if you've been following along, we created this table that we called copyright. I want to get rid of this. So I'm going to delete it. Remember, the model database is used to create additional databases. This is the model that's used, and I don't want that table to be created over and over. I'm going to keep things cleaned up. I am going to go ahead and delete the pubs database also. I'm going to click OK. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new database, and I will call this one SIS, short for Student Information System. And I'll go with all the defaults. It's perfectly fine at 64 or 8 megabytes, however size that it picked up. We're going to go to tables, and you can see there are currently no tables. I'm going to right-click tables and choose New Table. So here we have column name, data type, and whether or not nulls are allowed. What is a null? Null is the absence of anything. So it's not a space, it's not zero, it is the non-existent. So you cannot actually have null be equal to anything, including null. If we don't put anything in a particular field, then that field has a null value. And we want to determine whether something is going to allow nulls or not. I'm going to start with a column name of s_id for student ID, and I will make this be big int, and I'm going to say that this does not allow for nulls. Then I'm going to go and put in first_name. I will make this be nvarchar. 50 is kind of big. I'll make 30. That's enough. I will also not allow nulls. I will put middle name, and I will make this one be nchar1. Remember, the N is for national or Unicode character. Some people do not have middle names, so I'm going to allow nulls for this one. We'll have a last name field, which I will also make nvarchar30, and that will be required. We're going to start by the address portion, so I'm going to have, and to be consistent, let me actually go over here and put an S underscore for student, and S underscore and S underscore. S underscore street. I will make this be nvarchar 50, well, let's make it 100 just to be on the safe side. And we are going to require a street address. Before I forget, let me go ahead and save this table. I'll save it as student. In case you're wondering, should you go with a plural versus a singular, the professionals in database design would recommend that your databases, database or table names, I should say, be singular. Now, you will see people use plural, and that's okay. It's just I'm going to go with what the professionals recommend. We're going to have an S underscore city, the student city, which will make it be nvarchar, let's say 30 is enough, I think. Null's not allowed. Student state, I'm going to make this be an nchar2. We're going to only allow for students in the United States and, let's say, Canada here. We're going to have a zip code, so S underscore zip. I'll have this be nchar 9 to account for the 4-digit extensions. And of course, if they only put in the first 5 digits, then it's going to pad it with spaces. We will have a student phone number. It's possible students have more than one phone number, but we're going to assume only a single number. And we'll make that be nchar, let's say 10 is fine. We're going to assume that they have 10-digit phone numbers. We will have a date of birth, so student birthday. And for this, we'll pick date And I want to pick, yeah, date is fine. I don't want to pick date time. I don't think we know when somebody was born exactly the hour. I will allow nulls for this one in case somebody doesn't know their birthday or we don't know their birthday yet. We also want to have the student's social security number, which will be an nchar 9 because it's a 9-digit character. We're not putting in the hyphens. So 9 characters for that. And I'm going to allow nulls for that too because I might have international students who do not necessarily have a social security number yet. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. And I've created my first table. Oh, it didn't work. Remember, we saved it earlier, and now it says saving changes is not permitted. The changes you have made require the following tables to be dropped and recreated. So as you can see, the idea, what SQL Server is actually trying to push over here is the idea that designing something must be done correctly the first time. And if you don't design it correctly the first time, later on when you want to make changes to it, SQL Server is going to give you a hard time. This is a security measure to ensure the integrity of the table. Now, to be honest with you, database design is it's an art and a science. You have to get it right the first time, and in real life, of course, we would create this stuff on paper or in some kind of an application before we come into the database engine and start creating these tables. Nevertheless, SQL Server has this little problem, and we don't want this to give us this issue. It is a security measure, but we can turn it off. I'm going to go under Tools, Options, and I am going to find where this problem is, which I do not necessarily remember where exactly it was. I think it's under Designers, if I remember correctly. And yes, there it is. It says prevent saving changes that require table recreation. I'm going to uncheck this little box and choose OK. And then when I go back and click save, and notice there's an asterisk here, which means that it hasn't been saved yet. When I click save this time, it is perfectly fine. It doesn't complain anymore. So with this at hand, I could actually refresh, and I have my first table, DBO student. DBO is the default schema. We'll discuss schemas in a different lesson. I am going to edit the top 200 rows, and I'm going to put a student ID of 1001. Student's first name is Bugs. Middle is B. Last name is Bunny. Street address is 101 Rabbit Hole Way. Street city, let's say that he lives in Los Angeles, California. Zip code 90210. And phone number, let's say 301-555-1212. Date of birth, Bugs was born on July 07/17, let's say 1947. And social security number, I'm going to make it be 111223333. And that should take care of our first entry in our table. I am going to close this table, create a brand new query, and I'm going to do a select statement, select everything from student. And we should see Bugs show up. Execute. And there's our first entry. So we've created our first table. In the next lesson, we are going to learn about keys, and we're going to modify this table so it actually has a primary key and possibly other keys, such as a unique key. And we will also add an identity element. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, please share your knowledge with everyone. And if you're enjoying these videos, please share them with your loved ones and friends.